You call this your diary. Why?
Well, in this day and age, you know, we undervalue very heavily like the camera, and how it catches the human essence. So to me, I watch a lot of YouTube as everybody does, my generation, and at this point, I got to capture this moment I'm living in now, right? And I don't want it to be found. If I can preserve a video for my child, that's what I want to do. This is what your dad was doing when he was 32. You see, this isn't just her finding an old notebook. You know what I mean? So this is my diary. This is my testament to my level of life I'm at now. So yeah, that's why I said this is like a diary entry that I needed to be captured on video.
Okay. You talk about your child. Tell me about fatherhood.
Fatherhood. To be honest, it's been a transformative experience for me, and I say that because and I'm gonna try not to cry on video, you know what I mean? But it's a really intense emotional experience being someone's dad, and I say that for a lot of reasons, but mainly the deep level of trust that she has in me, a trust that comes from a place beyond anything I've ever been taught. Right, the way she trusts me as her father is something that is in her innate. Like, I created this person, So she looked at me like I was like 9 days after she was born, and I could tell she knew I was her dad, and it just freaked me out. Like that weight of that responsibility of being someone's dad, and fatherhood to me is like, wow, so many people run away from that weight. Like so many people crumble under that weight. They just can't handle it. And it's because if you have a girlfriend and she trusts you, but you break that trust, you can get a new girlfriend. If you have a wife and you break that trust, you can get a new wife. If you have a friend and you break that trust, you can get a new friend. You're not getting another boy or girl that you brought into the world. So when you break that trust, that's a deep shame. You see, that's a deep shame. So for me, it's been a transformative experience because it's like, oh, I can't run away from this. Like, you don't know how to walk, you don't know how to talk, you don't know how to do this, you don't know how to do that. And, I had my daughter on purpose. That's another thing. This is not an accident. This was not thrown upon me. I asked God for this. I asked the world for this. So there's no running away from it. And it's like, wow, I'm on Front Street. Like, whoa. Like, what I mean? Like, wow. Like, you know how some guys say they date a girl, but she loved him too well, and he traumatized, and he can't really take it, so he break up with her, or he self-sabotage the relationship because he really don't want to handle that level of responsibility. Or some guys meet a girl and she is wifey, he ain't ready to be a husband, so he run away, So this is I'll say the first relationship I've ever been in, besides with my own mother, where I can't leave. I wouldn't even be able to look in the mirror if I left. Obviously I don't got all the control. Things can happen, but as far as fatherhood goes, it's a relationship that like you're all in from the moment your kid comes out, whether you like it or not. Even if you think you're all out, you're still all in because you feel that. And now that I'm a dad, I'm speaking like a dad. You feel that. I don't care what you're saying. You feel that shit. At some point in your life, you feel it. If you don't fuck with your kids the way you're supposed to, you feel it. You know what I mean? If you can't call them or they don't think of you and think good things, and you can tell when they see you, if they don't see you, you feel it. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's what I'll say about having my kids. Definitely made me also, I guess my last point about it. As she rises, I go down. You see? So it's like, I always knew I was mortal, but it's like, wow. Like, even watching her pick something up, I'm like, yo, my knees do not work like that. Like, whoa, you are like young, you know what I mean? And as she rises, I fall. And it's like handing somebody the baton, And it's really just an amazing thing that transference of energy, right? So all the Ren and Stimpy I watched, and they just dying with me. I'm handing it off to somebody like, hey, this is what I used to do. This is what I learned. Like, do something with it, And knowing that happened to me, it's like, wow, doing that to somebody. You know what I mean? She love, I ain't gonna say love, but she understands the music I grew up with already at her young age. And I'm not just showing you this for no reason. Me being me, I'm showing you, look and listen to the message, listen to the motivation, listen to the da-da-da-da. That's that baton I'm talking about. Like, you know what I mean? Because when I'm stressed or when I'm going through something or when I just need some music, I'm putting on Tina Turner. I didn't look up Tina Turner. My mama showed me Tina Turner, you know what I'm saying? I'm looking up Luther Vandross. My house is not a home. My mama gave me that. So I'm giving down music to my daughter. Like, oh, if somebody messing with you, put on that 50 Cent. They're wankster, you know what I'm saying? Like, you see, when somebody messing with you, remember many men wish death upon me. I love that. She'll bob. She know what I'm talking about, or I'm teaching. So that's what fatherhood's really given me, like an opportunity to pass that baton of life, and it's beautiful, and I wouldn't trade it for the world. And I almost regret not having kids earlier when I could run around a little bit more. I ain't old, but it's definitely I definitely feel like, oh, if I had kids earlier, like, I would have been able to. But you gotta find the right partner, because there's a lot that goes into finding. You can't just do that out of nowhere. But I'm like, oh, this is all it is? What? I could have been done this, you know what I mean? But anyway, so yeah, that's it for fatherhood. It'll probably come up again, but, you know.
I known you for maybe a year or two,
Mm-hmm.
and I know the artistic version of you, not too much about you. But when I meet certain people, I wonder what was their childhood like. So, what was your upbringing like? What was your childhood like?
My childhood was it's one of them things. It's like that's not even a loaded question, but it's so complex, right? And the older I get, the more I'm like, wow, like, ooh, like that was wild, you know. So I had a really black childhood, if that makes sense. Like black life. Like I lived in shelters, moved around, you know. But even though I lived that life of like the stereotypically what black people experience, the poverty and stuff like that, you know, my mom also, I have no memories of my mother that are not her working for them before a certain point in my life. Like from 1 to 10, all the memories my mama is in her blue American Airlines uniform. So even though we was in poverty, right, my mama made money. So I never was like raised in a way of like a poverty mindset. You get what I'm saying? Like it was other things going on, her mental health and things like that would made it to where we was moving every year, right? She forgetting to pay bills and stuff like that, but her checks is okay. So I'm getting raised with like, you know, I'll say middle class values, you know what I mean? But my day to day is like messed up. But as you get older, it helps her mental health. It was never the money, you see. So my childhood was that. Obviously had no, not gonna say obviously, but with my mom's mental health and other things going on, there was no father figure for a while. Right? I got a stepdad later. It's a different conversation. Well, I'll bring him up later in the timeline when I'm talking. But my childhood was ups and downs. I didn't really grasp it because no one grasps their child until they get older, right? But it did lead to my mom and me. I got kicked out of the house at 15. Well, I got kicked out at 12. Once I got bigger than my mama, I got kicked out. From 12 to 15, I got kicked out like 17 times, right? And then at 15, I didn't go back. So I've been on my own since I was 15. And once again, all of that, or most of it stems from the combination of me going through puberty and my mom's mental health. My mom was schizophrenic, and she was bipolar, and she was schizophrenic, right? So there was always, as you get older, talking about that ups and downs, right? So as I ascend, and I'm starting to see the world, and you kind of going down, right? Eventually, we're going to meet in the middle, and hopefully it's a good thing, but it's not always a good thing. As we meet in the middle, I'm like, oh, she don't live in the real world. And it was like, I'm 13, I'm like, I don't think she really get what the fuck going on. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, because I know what's going on, and I'm confident in it. I'm not a little boy no more. This is what's going on, and you wrong, and that's what's going on. And I didn't realize how right I was at the time in my childhood. But that deeply influenced the way that I carry myself to this day. So I could definitely see how that childhood of growing up that quick, or just being that aware and being raised with those values, but also seeing how you can handle money, but if your mind fucked up, you fucked up, you see. So So I can see how that all led to where I'm at and why I have the confidence I have today and why I have the ability, the discernment to not let people get over on me. Like, because I trust myself, because I had to. Because that safety net of having a mother or a father didn't exist for me. It never existed for me. Even if my mama wanted to, or like she would have, but like she couldn't. Like even if she was like, if we didn't have beef, it still would have been inadequate because her mental health was non-existent. You understand what I'm saying? So that's a snippet of my childhood. Living, when I say I was homeless at 15, I really want to. That's why I'm glad we're doing this, because homelessness is complex. So to me, or not to me, like one of the legal definitions, I guess I have to say to me, because I don't have it top of my head, but if you don't have legal authority to be there, you're homeless. It don't matter if your cousin letting you stay there. It don't matter if your friend letting you. It don't matter, right? So just because you ain't eating out of a trash can, you're still homeless, right? So me, when I say that, from the people who really been in the trenches homeless, they're like, no, you wasn't. You was living da-da-da-da. Like, listen, I legally was not allowed, not allowed, I legally had no rights to be where I was all of high school. There was nothing saying, when I turn this key, you have to let me in. That's only your mama when you below 18. Does that make sense what I'm saying? So I was homeless based off the fact that I can get kicked out at any moment. I have no stability in this house. I'm a guest here, right? So I was definitely homeless, and I definitely felt that shit. I slept on the couch from like 15 to 19. Like, neck was all fucked up. You know what I mean? Like, but that was my childhood, and that definitely motivated me to reach higher and higher. You know what I mean? So other bits and pieces will probably come up, but that's like a quick synopsis of my childhood. Grew up super typically what happens to us in America, poor, shelters. Mom's mental health is terrible. She goes to work every single day, still can't figure it out. 12, puberty hits, we ain't working out, 12 to 15, I keep getting kicked out, to the moment where I just was like, I'm not taking it no more. Left, and we've been separate ever since, you know what I mean? And in 2016, my mom ended up passing away. So from 15 to 24, you know, yeah, So yeah, that's my childhood, so.
Okay. You talk about how your childhood sculpted your confidence. Can you tell us about this confidence that you exude?
You know, the confidence that I have, because I'm an artist, it's kind of, I can't even tell you the beginning, you know, but I will say it started when I hit puberty and I was like, this is not right, and I'm not doing it, right? I could pinpoint one moment where I like kind of broke the bounds, right? And broke the bounds, and especially in the black community. I didn't know what I was doing, but like later, like this is the type of shit that I say, like, this will make me cry if I think about it too much. Like, it's just like one of them, like, wow, like I became me in that moment, like, or parts of me were boiling up, like, that's my character coming out. You probably, I don't know if people would know this, but the old coffee warmers, it was this old technology that you plug it in and it literally just put the cup. Your grandma probably had one, right? My mama had 20 of these, right? And the cord was so old, like, you shouldn't be using that. Like, that's a fire hazard. But I forgot what my brother had did. My brother did something. And my mom grabbed the cord to beat him, right? I had been beat with that cord. My sister's been beat with that cord, right? And we never got beat to the point of, like, abuse or nothing. I never got abused, as far as, like, physically abused, like, beat. So when I say beat, I mean a whooping, you know? But she went to grab it. And I forgot what he did, but he wasn't all the way wrong, you know what I'm saying? So it wasn't like hey, bro, you know you ain't do that, like, mama gotta get you. It was one of those, like, nah, you a little bit more angry about this than you need to be. Like, you about to kind of like, that gray area, like, yeah, he's your son and you can discipline him, but what you about to do to me is not right. So I had grabbed the cord before she could get to it. And my mom looked at me like, what are you doing? And I was like, I said, see, I cried thinking about it. I said, oh, that's who I am. That's when it started. I said, but if you want to beat him, you're going to beat me. And she said, what? Like, she wasn't even mad. She was just like, what you mean? I said, because he didn't do that, or he don't deserve that. Like, we're not doing that. And she just sat down. She was just like, fuck it. She was like, I can respect that, you know. And that's the confidence I have. Like, at a certain point, if I see something that ain't right, you have to beat me. I gotta go. You know what I mean? And it's scary when people see it, because it comes out at these times where it's like, you didn't even know I was peeping that you was doing that. You didn't even know I was cognizant of the fact that this was happening. And yeah, that's inside of me. I knew that was inside of me. And when it left my mouth, like, I literally was willing to take whatever she was about to do. Like, obviously I know I wasn't probably gonna die or nothing crazy, you know. But whatever punch she was about to throw, so he didn't have to get that. I'm a big brother, that's all I gotta do. You know what I mean? That's it. So that's like my moral standpoint, you know what I mean? And that was 20-some years ago, but I can say that's where to answer your question, that's the beginning of my confidence of being like, this is what I'm gonna do, and it doesn't matter. And whatever the world gonna do to me, that's what it's gonna be, you know. And I will also say, let me get these tears out of my eyes. I can't tell you, like, my brother can make fun of me for the next 20 years. He was crying about me still, you love me. But also did that means I'm opened up now to other ways of thinking. Because in the black community, you don't do that. That's what the white kids do. Mom, you're not gonna beat me. You know, we all have these jokes we make. But me, I'm like, I wasn't going for that. And our relationship definitely changed after that. I think I was 12, 13. Me and my mama, we definitely, she respected me though. And I can talk about it all day. She respected me though. Like, damn, I'm raising a man. Like, he really did that. Like, he really was like, fuck it, you're not doing that, be my brother. But that opened me up to other ways of thinking. When I say other ways of thinking, like, I started to be turned on by, like, people who exhibit a certain type of talent. You know what I mean? For some reason, I just was like, oh, I like that. You know what I mean? So I always tell people who know me, I grew up post Kobe and I grew up post Kanye. When you get exposed to a person like Kobe Bryant and you psychologically can think past what you see, when you can actually psychologically see that we are nothing but what we represent, right? We're nothing but symbols. I'm nothing but a symbol, right? When someone dies, this is how I try to explain to people. When someone dies, you don't remember every single day that you've seen them. You remember what they represent to you. You see? So we're nothing but symbols, right? So Kobe Bryant, to me, I'm not an athlete. I'm 5'10". I'm not an athlete. I never liked athletics. I always wanted to be respected for my mind. And that's also thanks to my mom. But Kobe, I could see him move with such an intensity and such a poetry about him that I was like, that's how I want to be. And when he spoke, it was with such a precise confidence. I was like, that shit, that's like, I want to reach that level of talent where when I'm talking, I know what I'm talking about. And you know, even if you don't like me, right? Because that was the Kobe thing. That's my thing with Kobe, why I speak about him the way I do, because there was a dislike. He wasn't like Michael Jordan, because Michael Jordan's image on the court was, you know, Bugs Bunny. Like, Michael Jordan was very marketable, right? Kobe was not marketable in the same way. But you're never going to say that his talent was not supreme. And that, to me, really just is like where a lot of where my confidence comes from, is trying to reach that level of talent to where the arrogance matches because the product matches. And now I can act how I want to act, and you just got to deal with it. And that's what I loved about Kobe. You just got to deal with it. You know, I can drop 81 if you play with me. You know that, right? No questions, you know what I mean? And I'm out here to win, you know what I mean? I don't care if it's Paul Gasol or Shaq. I'm out here to get a W. Like, I respect that. And I'm not going to talk about Kanye West for 3 hours because I could. But Kanye West, which is also the power of media, you can't let certain people speak. And that's the scary part. That's why the videos get suppressed on Instagram and stuff like that, because the moment I heard him say certain stuff, I was never the same, you see. And this is a 15-year-old boy, 16-year-old boy. The moment I heard certain interviews, I was just never the same. I think I was 20 when he made that. It was the interview. He wearing the green jacket and that thick ass gold chain. You know what I'm talking about? Where he's like, I'm a god. Like I was like, he crazy, but I also was like, but like he did make My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Like he did give like a 10 out of 10 album, and that's whenever I teach children, I teach them about the Kobe Bryant arrogance, the Kanye West arrogance. Arrogance without the product, you're delusional, you're crazy, and you need to go get some psychological help. You do, because if you act like Kobe Bryant, but you shooting air balls, those two don't equate. We need to work on that, right? But if you talk like that, but your stats are ... you got 15 scholarships coming, ... hey, he knows something. You know what I mean? Hey, talk that talk. You know what I'm saying? But if you don't got the product right, so like Kanye, he can act like that because when he goes away, when he dies, you know what I mean? When he dies in 30, 40 years, whatever, he'll be spoken of the way he spoke about himself. But it just can't happen now. You know, and that's my goal as an artist. That's where my confidence comes from. Right now, if I died, you know, God forbid, if you went to my house, they would be like, who the fuck was this guy? Who the fuck lived here, right? Me trying to look at it ain't working right now. But I know by the time I'm 50, 60, or if I die and somebody shows my stuff, like, who was this man? Wait, he did this. That's the confidence. That's where it comes from. Like trying to reach that Kobe Bryant level or that Kanye West level and just having that character in me that's like, I'm not gonna just let something wrong happen. I got the confidence to say something, no matter what's gonna happen to me. I mean, so yeah, that's where my confidence comes from, you know. Yeah.
It seemed like you kind of saved your brother that day, and it sparked something in you. Do you look at yourself as like maybe a superhero?
Absolutely not. If anything, I would be more of like at best, anti-hero. Mainly because certain words carry too much weight. And when they carry weight, I feel like you don't really have your real thoughts, if that makes sense. So, when you talk about superheroes, like Superman, right? Superman got played out real quick when the world started shaking up, right? Because that character, Superman, is too good. You're too good. Like, you know, there's no humanistic qualities, right? Because we have good and bad within us. Superman was all good, generic as hell. Here to save the day. Like, I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't do nothing wrong. Superman. That was cool in the 50s, 30s, you know what I mean? Before people were able to really speak at length and talk and communicate. But my point is, hero will keep you from doing what needs to get done, right? The anti-hero, which I identify with a lot more than anything else, is somebody who understands what needs to get done. Like, of course, we need to get this done. But also understands the road to getting there may not be pretty, right? And I just know that, oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna figure it out. Like, I'm not gonna, well, that would be nice for that person. I don't care about that. You know what I mean? But I will say, I try to keep the morality at the highest level. I try to keep the greatest good at the highest level. So I will suffer through what I need to suffer through for the highest level of good that I can see or output. You know what I mean? And when you say hero, I feel like it comes with like when people think in that hero way, I feel like they're not going to suffer as much as they should to get to where they need to go because they don't realize like suffering is a part of it. The negative is the part of it. You know what I mean? Like, that's just how I view words like that. And obviously people don't really say hero, but other things that they say, to me, the deep meaning behind that is also you really don't do it then. Or you really don't see what you're doing. Or you really don't, you know, they hide behind leadership roles. They hide behind certain stuff because they're trying to be a good leader. So you try to please everybody. Or be a good leader. So you fire everybody. Like, it's so much more complicated than hiding behind labels and titles. Does that make sense what I'm saying? Yeah, I don't want to go too crazy out there. But no, I would never say I look at myself as a hero. I wouldn't even like to talk about myself like that. You know what I mean? That's like, no, like, and I identify way more with those heroes. When I was a kid reading comics, like, I always loved the Punisher because I got it, I understood. You know what I mean? And to some extent, I like Batman. Like, 'cause Batman was outside the law. He's actually a vigilante. He's not like a hero for real, but he saved the city or he saved lives. You know what I mean? So I always identify with that because it goes into those complexities. You know. There's I got a tattoo on my ribs of the Joker. You ever read you ever read The Killing Joke? The Killing Joke is an amazing comic, right? They kind of made the movie, but the movie is not. Read the comic because the comic shows how Joker and Batman were traumatized, but they had different reactions to the trauma. But it literally, they talk, they have a conversation. And I read this at like 12. What was up? Oh, I read this at 12, and it really shaped how I viewed like heroes and anti-heroes. Because I'm like, wait, Batman and Joker, I never put them on the same footing as a kid. It was Batman and Joker's a bad guy. But when they talk, even Batman was like, no, we are one and the same. I said, y'all one and the same? Like, my mind was open to the idea of, like, oh, Joker just doing his reaction to the world because of what happened to him. But so is Batman. It's a choice. And that's when I started to choose to be like helpful rather than self-destructive. Because I was traumatized by the world. And I was at that age, like if I didn't read that at that point, who knows where I would have went. But it was knowing like, oh, I could be traumatized and be Batman. You see, I don't gotta be self-destructive. I don't gotta be mad. And I can actually use this energy to help people, you know? So hopefully that made sense. But for those, anybody who watched this video, The Killing Joke it's on my top 30 things you should read before you go. If you're a little bit older when you read it, you might be like, duh. But if you're like in that developmental age of like your morality, it's definitely something to look at because it's like, damn, you know, because there's this judgment people put out of other people. You don't know what they're going through. So read The Killing Joke and you see Joker's wife die. You see her, oh, she died with a baby in her belly in the comic book. You know what I mean? Like, how would you react? Then he lose his job. Then he do this. Then the world was just, you know what I mean? Not all of us come out of that as Batman. Most of us actually don't come out. Most of us come out of that like the junkie who walking across the street. You know what I mean? He ain't a junkie because his life was perfect. You know what I mean? Maybe he lost his wife. The only person ever loved him. You don't know what's going on. You know what I mean? So, yeah, that's my answer to that question about do I think I'm a hero? That's, yeah, no, I wouldn't even allow people to talk about me like that. You know what I mean? So, yeah.
Okay. You say you read something that changed your life at 12. What is something that's changing your life at this age? What are you reading currently?
Oh, well, I haven't been able to read for fun because I was getting my doctorate, right? So I wasn't able to read as much for, I won't even say fun, for like my own personal self-development. I've been reading a lot of my textbooks and stuff like that. So for the last like 2 or 3 years, I've been deep in my schoolwork. But yeah, I read a book called On Killing. It's a book written by a military man, and he speaks about how we use war in the wrong way, how there's a lack of acknowledgement of PTSD. This is written a couple years ago. It's not like a modern book, like I think 2005, 2006, something like that, right when PTSD was becoming part of our collective consciousness. But he did say something that was super interesting. It reminded me of, you know, it reminded me of niggas in the hood. It reminded me of like what happens, right? He said, human beings can never, when it comes to killing, you never want to talk about it in a way of like what you're actually doing, right? Back to words, how people use words to hide behind, right? He said, he talked about it. Even in the military, they call it a stick. They call it I gotta grab Susie. I gotta talk about the M16s, talking about the AKs, talking about their guns, right? They never say, give you my killing weapon, right? Even amongst killers, they don't say it. Think about the hood, right? They say, oh, I need the Nina, or or the Blick, right? Like all these other words to kind of skew you away from what it's meant for and what it's actually supposed to do, right? And that was so interesting to me because there's so many linguistic things that we do to avoid actually what we're talking about, like actually what's going on, right? So imagine if you're watching not even watching the movie, imagine if in real life, right? Oh, I need my killing machine. If you said what it was, I need my mechanism for murder. If it was said like that, right? The percentage of people who could speak in that way and still do what they do with that gun is very small, and those are actually really scary people who should be locked away. If you could say, give you my mechanism for murder, I gotta go, or where's my mechanism for murder, and you can actually grab it and go out there, you really got issues. But the linguistic barrier keeps you in that realm of you don't see what you're doing is wrong, or as wrong. You can kind of, he also talks about proximity to the enemy. He said shooting is also to keep the proximity away, to keep that distance, right? He said there's studies that say soldiers who were like far away shooting back in the day, like 80% went in the air because they didn't want to kill nobody, right? And he said as you get closer and stuff like that, PTSD obviously rises, but some people even, what was he saying about close proximity? I don't want to misquote him, but so I don't want to misquote him because I'm losing the idea, but we always consider it to be distance is the point.
All right, back to the questions. I really want to know, who are you?
Oh my God, who am I? Well, I guess that is why I started this, or I'm doing this thing, this video. Who am I? Well, I would like to say I'm a complicated person. Extremely complicated and extremely complex person. But I'm also helpful, and I'm geared towards the progression of what I can influence. I'm geared towards progressing into the highest level of good that I can. So whatever I'm involved with, I'm trying to make it better for everybody. Whatever you see me doing, I'm trying to do it, and the reason why I'm trying to do it is to help people, right? So I'm extremely helpful, but I'm also, complicated. And the only reason I say complicated is because I'm not a religious man. I'm not I'm not doing this for some moral reasoning or something like that. I'm not stuck in those frames of thought. So I just said So I said complicated because people would be like, "Oh, you did this for all these people," and but you're not smiling about it. "Oh, you did this for all these people," but you're not trying to get them to go to God. That's not what I'm in it for. You know what I mean? So the complexity of at least how I view myself comes from stuff like that. Because when I interact with other people, I can tell "Oh, you only doing this because you went to Jesus camp and they told you for 20 years that this is what you're supposed to be doing. You're not feeding them because you know that they're starving." You see, and that makes me complicated because well, why are you doing this? Or because I don't jump for joy about certain stuff because it just needs to get done. You know what I mean? So yeah, that's at least my synopsis. Obviously, other people who know me have a completely different perception of who I am. But there is one goal, and then I wouldn't go to the next question because I don't want to be just pontificating. You know what I mean? But we'll go to the next question. But there is one thing that I would like to I hope this is who I can be before I die. I'll say it that way. I hope this is who I can be before I die. I want people to speak about me as if I didn't exist. Now what I mean by that is I would like my contribution to be so immense that it's he didn't do that, right? And that's my goal. That's who I am or who I want to be. I want to be a person where you're he didn't do that. That dude ain't real. He didn't make artwork, do this, write songs, help people, and work here and teach. So that's what's that complex person. Cause that's my ultimate goal. That's what gets me out of bed some days. Is I'm reaching for something that will be spoken about as if it's unreachable, and that's why I'm influenced by who I'm influenced by. Because I feel like if you speak about my influences, back to Kanye real quick. If you speak about him he didn't make shoes that sold $1 billion, and he didn't make albums like that, and he didn't make fashion, and he didn't make a beat for his idol, and then make an album with his idol 10 years later. That's just crazy. That didn't happen. No, it happened. That's Google. So when you Google me one day, I hope that who I am comes out as, oh, he was really a helpful dude who just executed, whether it was art, community work, teaching, working with the guys with lockdown, whatever he's doing, he's helping people. Wow, hopefully I could be like this guy. That's my goal. I mean, that's what I hope I can be when it's all said and done. I hope my kid looks back and says, oh, Dad was really helpful. Where did he bring you to? Oh, he brought me to Crime Drought. Where'd your dad bring you to? Oh, he used to bring me to Healthy Hood when he was doing events. You see, that's what I'm trying to create for myself, and who I hope I am, right? None of us really know who we are, so yeah.
Okay. We're going to close this interview out with, since it's your diary, if you had to tell yourself something in the future, you watch this 10 years from now, this video, what would you tell yourself?
If I was talking to myself in 10 years, what would I tell myself? I guess I would tell myself it's okay if it didn't happen. Very deep philosophical thought, but I would tell myself in 10 years, it's okay if it didn't happen. It's okay. Because of the metric of your life being the college graduation, the girlfriend, the house, the $1 million. that metric will never benefit your existence in the way that you think it will. So I tell myself at 42, it's okay if it didn't happen, because everything for me, and this is also where that confidence comes from, everything for me post 15 is post death, it's post mortem, it's posthumous or whatever. Everything for me is extremely high on the level of joy, because I wasn't supposed to be here. I'm not supposed to be 32, living in the house I live in, making the money I make. I'm not supposed to be walking across the stage with my doctorate. I'm not supposed to be here. So at 42, like, hey, you done got another 30 years under this, you know what I mean, that you wasn't supposed to have, you know what I mean? So I would just tell myself at 42, yeah, I'd be extremely compassionate. It's okay if it didn't happen. It doesn't matter what's happened to you. It don't matter, because you had this moment. And you had the moments before this. You had the moments before that. You had the kid that you helped. You had the kid that you not gave birth to, but the kid that you created. You have all these things that you've done at 32. So if at 42, if it all falls apart, it falls apart. You know what I mean? There is no life without death. You know what I mean? So at 42, like, hey man, you did it. Let's hope you make it. First of all, thank you for being here. I would say, you know what I mean? Like, hey, it's okay if it did happen. You should have no attachments if it happens or not. Whatever the plan is, if the plan failed, it failed. You know what I mean? You've done enough. That's also what I would tell myself in 10 years. You've done enough. And I think that men do not hear that enough. I'm not gonna cry again, but the amount of men who die and they never heard, Dad, you did enough. You ever heard someone tell you that? See, I know what I'm talking about. I've done enough now. So I would tell myself then, you've done enough. Men never hear that. So I would just say, hey, you good. I would just hug myself in 10 years, say you did enough. Even if you do more, you've done enough. Thank you. And in talking to my future self, you've done enough. And if it didn't happen, you're fine. You're good. You did enough for me. You know what I mean? So that's it. And I appreciate you for coming out and doing this. I appreciate it. You know what I mean? It was definitely necessary. You know what I mean? It's not the first or the last one. I definitely got more to say. You know what I mean? So I appreciate it.